Easy Sports Talk Show. Javon Adams with none other than my man Ed Smith, who not only played professional baseball but also played in the National Football League on that first Super Bowl bound team for the Atlanta Falcons. What is good, my brother?
It's hump day, man. It's hump day. Let's get it. Let's get it.
Indeed.
I feel it too, bro. It's like, man, this feels like a long week already, but it's
I
all
know
good.
when we got on, just real quick, just behind the scenes, I asked you good? Yeah, it's just one of them days, man.
Yeah. I got a loaded one today, so.
We ain't gonna hold you too long. We ain't gonna hold y'all too long, but we appreciate y'all checking in. We do this thing 3 times a week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can go to easysportstalk.com, obviously, or however you landed here. We do appreciate it, whether you go to the YouTube channel or you just search Easy Sports Talk Show and it comes across. So we do this again 3 times a week. We also have the podcast that we do representing the Arizona or covering the Arizona Cardinals called Believe in the Arizona Cardinals. That's BLEAV in the Arizona Cardinals. And then, of course, on Saturdays, we do our national radio show, which is from 1 to 3 Eastern, and that is on SportsMap Radio. You can go to sportsmapradio.com and just click the little play button, or you can download the app to your mobile or Android device. So today, a couple things I wanted to cover. One is a really joyous occasion with the Diamondbacks. The other, your thoughts on, are the big boys getting a little bit, are they getting a little antsy because maybe some other people are being able to try to step up and get some of their recruits, and then your thoughts on dealing with sports mortality. But let's get started with the NIL. So came across ESPN reported that new NIL rules are on the horizon. Because it's been like the wild, wild west. Anytime you hear about the things going on, you hear about it's the wild, wild west out there. And I think there's good and bad with this. One of the things that I think is good about these new regulations is that maybe to try to have some standard verbiage in the contracts, because what often happens, and I've heard a couple of, I think we talked about it maybe a month or so ago, where there was an NFL player that, a rookie or second-year NFL player that was beholden to an NIL deal that he signed when he was in college that was that was awful. It was, to be blunt, it was awful. Like the company gets X percentage of his earnings over the next few years and all this stuff for the little bit of money, and I say a little bit, but a little bit of money that they gave him to be a sponsor for their brand. So that's cool. I kind of like that. You don't want people to be taken advantage of. And also what I did like is that it's proposed that high school and college students will kind of be educated about NIL, what this really means. Because it's one thing, it's one thing to say, hey, give me $1,000. It's another thing to say what that means, in terms of how you have to represent that brand, about what it means for you as a professional when it comes to tax implications and all that good stuff. And then I think the other side of it is, since they want to be able to register and log who are these companies or organizations that are doling out these NIL funds as well, maybe to have some type of paper trail there as well. But just overall, what do you think about these regulations that seem to be on the horizon, that maybe will be go live and be implemented at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, they should have thought about this before the whole process. It's
yeah.
I think initially, it was a great idea because the players, after all these years, they deserve the opportunity to be able to profit from their image and likeness and everything. The thing that really got out of hand right off the bat for me, it was used more as a recruiting tool for players in high school to, and that's where you mentioned how the big boys are getting a little nervous, because, it's not about just recruiting now. It's more about, how many dollars that the players can put in their pockets from the boosters. And it was like a competition, instead of, once a young man or young lady got on campus, you can now use your image and likeness to profit. It was, like I said, it was done badly. They put the cart before the horse, and, and then with no regulation. And, it was like a free for all. What has been like a free for all for all these, sponsors and companies and stuff like that. And as you mentioned, there's no regulation to it, and anybody can just do whatever they want, and no, educational tax implications, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, I'm surprised it took this long, Jay, for them to finally do something. And, but here's the thing. The NCAA, they were just glad because, now we don't have to even consider paying them. There's somebody else going to pay them. Let's let them do what they want to do. We don't care. And now all of a sudden it's getting all fuzzy, and somebody's got to do something. So I guess, so in the end, long overdue. Should never started the process without a plan being in place. And now the problem is, how do you put the genie back in the bottle? You got a lot of things you got to try to clean up. Now you're going to make rules that haven't been there that might affect some of this money that's been out there and the way businesses have been doing. Now, what's going to happen, Jay? They're going to go back to the old way of trying to bypass the laws, the rules and stuff. What does that kind of remind you of? So
right.
Man, that's where we're headed.
I think I think some of these big schools, these blue bloods, and of course I'm talking more specifically about college football. When that happens, I think they starting to get a little nervous. You think of maybe not shaking in their boots, but seeing that if something doesn't happen, if some change, if we don't try to at least make some rules so that, of course, it benefits us, the blue blood, that we might be on the outside looking in, or it might be more competitive than we want it to be. You talk about an Ole Miss, an Alabama, a Georgia, wherever it was, and if you have some boosters, if you got some folks that are proud alumni or alumnus for whatever that institution is, we might be able to get a high paid athlete to come in there. And again, what does that mean for the athlete? I think sometimes, again, I know I mentioned it just a few minutes ago, but there's that saying, do something strange for a piece of change, right? But it's what does it mean if I'm driving around your vehicle for the next 6 months during the college football season? What does that mean if I'm a 18, 19, 20-year-old? What exactly does that mean? What does that mean when it comes to being able to, because the organization, I mean, the company, they find, because as long as the team is winning or the athlete is performing well, that's going to benefit them. But what about what happens on the back end to that athlete when they don't know all that stuff that they're supposed to do to make sure that they don't end up owing all kinds of money just because they got this 100,000, 10,000, 30,000, whatever NIL deal, and then of course you got those shady folks that are coming in and they want to sign these contracts. Hey, don't worry about it. I'll give you $100,000 because I know you're going to be a first round draft pick, and then they put something in there where they're going to get all this money in perpetuity for years and years and years, and that's scary when you're coming from maybe not coming from money. And I don't mean you have to have millions of dollars, but maybe you're just coming from a time where you just know you're not educated, you're not aware of what that landscape is. And next thing you know, you think you're making all this money, and it's come on over to death row, and it can be I would imagine scary and intimidating. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. But it's going to be back to, like you said, maybe those $1,000 handshakes, not the $20 handshakes, but the $1,000 handshakes, maybe when all the legislation, the regulations are put in place.
Yeah, it'll be what we've had to this point. Some of these deals have been like loan shark deals.
Yes,
hey,
you're right.
You need some change. Coming over here. 1,000 to, hey, what's the vig? That type of thing.
Yeah,
and
man.
now all of this. I am so surprised, Jay, that some of the smartest people in the world did not see this coming, like a train coming down the track with the whistle going. This was a no-brainer in terms of, if we don't monitor this, if we don't put rules to it, if we don't create contracts, what could happen? What could happen? Maybe people out there, getting these kids and try to take some of their money on the backside, getting them into bad deals, you name it, whatever it is, bad products. Some of the smartest people in the world can sometimes be the dumbest people in the world, I guess.
Indeed. It's like it made me think of that song, "The freest woman in the world is the cruelest woman in the world. If you make it that way.
There you
So Easy Sports Talk Show, Ed Smith, Javon Adams. So something positive, real cool. Said for the first time since 2017, the Arizona Diamondbacks are back into the playoffs. Your old teammate Torey Lovullo is the skipper of that squad, and so they go there. So it's a 3-game series. The way the wild card works now, because I didn't like that one game. It just didn't seem to be, that it was that they changed it from. I didn't like that one game. Either you win or you lose and you're out. But so they're taking on the Milwaukee Brewers, and so it's a 3-game series. And so the way it works, the team with the better record, they will host all 3 games. So it's not one here, two there, one here, something like that. But the Diamondbacks came out on top 6-3. Started off a little shaky, but they ended up coming out on top 6-3 with what was it? The starting pitcher was Fott. But so he was a little shaky, but so there was he was in relief. It was I'm trying to look at the game notes, but your thoughts. And the winner of was Mantiply ended up getting the win, and then Seawald ended up getting the save. But 6-3, and that means that they're on the precipice, on the verge of advancing to the next round of the playoffs. And we've been through a lot of that bad with the Diamondbacks. This is really cool to be on the edge of advancing to the next round.
Yeah, I actually watched the game. I told you, it's time, but the 162 was over.
I was going to ask you, man. Yeah.
I did. I watched the game. It was a great game. What I liked the most is, the Brewers came out and jumped on top of them early with a run in the first, 2 in the second, and it was like, wow, here we go. And next thing you know, bats woke up in the third, and then from there, pitching staff shut Brewers down. Crazy part was there were so many runners, so many hits, and so many runners on base by both teams, and they got left on base. Brewers added a couple security runs late in the game, and it's amazing how fast 162 game schedule. If you make it to the playoffs, how quickly it come to an end. Even I'm glad they got rid of the 1-game series. I thought that was stupid, but even a 3-game series, Jay. I mean, that's not even a weekend series. That's a middle of the week. By Saturday, the NLDS and ALDS will be starting, and whoever loses these first series, your 162 game playoff season is over. So it was just like that. So it's actually glad, I'm, once again, I'm talking to anybody out there in Arizona, in the Diamondbacks front office. You need to get a contract, long-term contract for one Torey Lovullo. It's ridiculous that he's on a 1-year deal. Actually, we had texted back and forth last week after they clinched, or actually Sunday after they got the playoff spot. So I'm happy for them. I hope they, it'd be great to see them back here in a playoff series. Something we got our ace on the mound tonight to try to get us to the next round. So we'll see how everything goes. And I say this, even for the Diamondbacks, think about this, Jay, what we thought their season was going to be, middle of the road rotation or roster. And we were like, this is a 500 team. This team got into the playoffs. Yeah. And I'm telling you, man, they can make some noise. So congratulations, and, makes for a much better fall when our Diamondbacks are playing into October.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So this wasn't on our run sheet, but I got to ask you this because I know you saw the story. What is it like from an athlete's perspective if you play, let's say, for the Tampa Bay Rays, and you're in the playoffs and you're playing the Texas Rangers, and you got a home game, and only 19,000 people show up to your game?
Yeah, that's.
Is it? I mean, do you feel that? I would think I would feel that as an artist. Let's say if I'm coming home and I'm performing and the venue's not even halfway full. What does that do to an athlete? What does that do to?
Well, what's sad is you're already used to it, because imagine this, Jay. You got 19 for a playoff game. Imagine what you're getting during a regular season game.
They average 17,000.
That's what showed up. I mean, that's what was recorded.
Yeah.
And so for 7, we've gone through this out here in Arizona. When they say 20,000 people, and you look at the stands, you're like, there's no way there's 20,000 people out there. That means there's 5,000 or 6,000 people out there. So what's sad is it's almost like I'm trying to think of you waiting, say you thought your mom and dad would bring you a surprise home, right? Because all year long, you've seen the 7 and 8,000 in the stands, even though you're a great team going to the playoffs, and like, okay, we'll deal with it. But then at the end of the, it's like getting close to Christmas or whatever, you're thinking they're going to bring you a present home. So you start to get excited because you're thinking playoffs are coming. Our people going, we got into the playoffs. Our people going to come out here. They're going to support us. And then you get out there, and as you're looking around, because I've been watching these other, like, Brewers, Minnesota,
Philadelphia.
fan, not a seat empty, and the towels and everybody going, and the atmosphere, and then you get to your field, and it's just like, you can hear the popcorn man, hot dog man, hot dogs. I thought you get the hot dogs here, that type of thing. I've been there before in them empty stadiums, and it really does. It's like a punch in the gut because, the support's not there, and it's just like, it just feels like another game in place instead of this, a reward for all the hard work we did and out there for our fans. And this is what we get. It's almost like, man, we'd rather be on the road with some excitement going on. So
good Lord. Yeah. So leave me with this Easy Sports Talk Show. He's Ed Smith. I'm Javon Adams. The story, Lonzo Ball, he's going to be out again. He didn't play. I think he played he didn't even play last season. But knee injuries. He's had this is his third knee surgery that he had just a couple of months ago. That the result of that surgery is going to keep him out this upcoming season. And so, former number 2 draft pick, he was drafted by my Lakers. But it just made me think of when do athletes ever think of their sports mortality? He seems very optimistic. I'm sure he's had some trying times as he's going through the rehab and things aren't healing just the way that they do. I think we become numb to the fact that athlete has surgery. We get the report surgery went well, and we never think that surgery not going to go well. And when you were playing, did you have a moment when you were playing either baseball or playing, more specifically baseball, when you thought about, gosh, I'm not going to be doing this forever, not just because I'm going to get old, but because of injuries, the unexpected injury? Or did you ever have somebody that you played with that really that sports mortality hit them and they just didn't know what to do? They weren't prepared for it. They suffered either mentally or emotionally or whatever that was.
Yeah, I never experienced it in baseball, but I made the transition after 9 years and moved on. But so I never experienced it, but I did see guys go through it with the injuries, and it's real strange. Guy will get hurt, and it's like, oh, that's nasty, and think about this. This is back in the late '80s, early '90s. We've made some real advancements in these surgeries and different things. I remember it was a time. You remember when you had an ACL, it was a calendar year before you were even thinking about coming back. It was like that was now you get guys will have ACLs in January and they're ready by training camp or for football and different things like that. But some of these injuries, I witnessed guys get hurt, and then it was always wish them luck, and then you hope to see them next spring training, and those guys would just not show back up, and their careers were kind of over. And I always prayed that something like that would never happen to me. I never had any of those devastating injuries. I had my fair share, MCLs to ruptured and different things like that, but never went through that. But I had a lot of teammates, and it's real sad because if you're a doctor or a lawyer, Jay, you can be in a God forbid, you can be in a very bad car accident or something like that, but you rehab, you get back on your feet, you go back to doing what you're doing, your livelihood. In sports, when it's over, and I've seen some of those real gruesome leg injuries and stuff like that, and you just know, even if all the time it takes to rehab and try to get back, there's no guarantee you're going to ever get back. And then there's a shelf life as well. So if you're even not yourself, at some point the light does get turned off, and there's not much like it, like I say, because once you're done being an athlete, you really are. You're a former athlete. You're professional athlete, I should say. You're not getting paid to do it anymore. So it can be taken away in a blink of an eye. And for Lonzo, man, this is, when you start having these type of multiple surgeries, and that something's going on in there where it's just not going to get right. And he could fight, and never see his way back on the court. The one thing I will say, anytime you sign a 4-year, $80 million deal, which is all guaranteed in the NBA,
Yes, sir.
there's a lot worse things you could be doing is rehabbing with your bank account full, even, you're not on the court, but that, like I said, them decimal, them every 2 weeks, check
That
that.
feels a little bit better. Maybe I'll do an extra rep or two. I'll get an extra set in, something like that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So on behalf of the one and only Ed Smith, I am Javon Adams. This is Easy Sports Talk Show podcast. We do it 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You can go to easysportstalk.com. You can go to our YouTube page as well. You can go to wherever you find this podcast. We also do the Believe in the Arizona Cardinals podcast. That'll be tomorrow. We do that Mondays and Thursdays. That's BLEAV in the Arizona Cardinals. And we have our national radio show that is every Saturday from 1 to 3 Eastern on Sports Map Radio. That's sportsmapradio.com. You can go to click in the play icon in the upper right corner, or download the app for your Apple or Android device. And if you really want to be blessed, then you go to edsmithspeaks.com to see about having the one and only Ed Smith come and speak for your organization. He is a great motivational speaker. So until next time, as we always like to say around this time, you can